Hello there. Now we have another net zero trip up, and heat pumps are the culprits. The government spends millions on getting people to fit heat pumps to their houses and tries to gear up to fitting 600,000 of them a year. And now it's had to launch a review into heat pumps because they are too loud. And the department that has raised the concerns is the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA. You just could not make this up. It turns out that heat pumps put out some 40 to 60 decibels of noise. Not too intrusive on an individual basis, but when grouped together they could become a cumulative disturbance. You know, noise pollution. Something I'm told that increases in frosty weather. Anyway, as it's mostly the wealthy buying these things at the moment, it will be the more well-heeled areas that get to suffer any noise pollution first. Hopefully all those MPs and lords who push this stuff through for a start. And now we have even more ridiculous red tape from Rishi Sunak's Brexit Windsor frame-up. I've talked before about this new requirement that will require all UK-grown and manufactured food sold within the UK to have a Not for EU label on it. Well, the industry is expecting these labels to have to be placed on all individual packaging and the cases they're in and on supermarket shelves, and presumably on the transport too. Millions upon millions upon millions of new notices. This will impact the whole UK, not just goods going from Great Britain into Northern Ireland. Wouldn't it be much easier to put labels onto goods going into the EU saying, for EU? The Tories have manoeuvred us into a right old corner. What does it say on the food and drink provided on ferries and aircraft, for example, as they shuttle between the UK and the EU? And how about within the Channel Tunnel? Do they have to swap the food over halfway across, or maybe switch labels? No, it'll be the same stuff, but some will have Not for EU labels on them, and some won't. But English does look set to remain as the common language of the European Union. And under their proposed EU Train Drivers Directive, train drivers will all have to speak English, so as to increase closer ties between member states. So post-Brexit, the English language is seen as the way forward in pressing forward with ever closer union. But this is all part of the EU plans for one EU-wide rail system, of which HS2 was a part, of course. I therefore have my suspicions about why our government is pressing on with that immense white elephant. So democracy wins, for now. One London council has been forced to scrap a low-traffic neighbourhood scheme because their voters don't want it. How dare they defy their council masters? So there is hope for all those people who are against these freedom-sapping, traffic-banning schemes springing up across the country. The Labour-run Southwark Council was in the process of imposing a low-traffic neighbourhood, an LTN, on the people of Dulwich Village. But those pesky things called ordinary people got in the way, after the official consultation was drenched in angry responses. And the borough already has other LTNs, and these are reportedly causing shops to shutter and moves all the traffic onto other roads, causing congestion there instead. That's always the green way. Move the problem somewhere else so you can claim to be green. And this is a great example for our politicians who think they're our masters and know better than us plebs, and they're being brought to heel. But I suspect this is a minor setback, and that the scheme will come back quite quickly, with shiny new packaging and some minor amendments to make it look more palatable. And I say this because of the response to this U-turn by Councillor James McAsh, Southwark's Cabinet Member for Climate Emergency, Clean Air and Streets. He said, "After careful consideration of local traffic data, we have made the decision to retain vehicle access at the Turney Road location for now." So it wasn't the people objecting to it that caused the U-turn then, it was traffic data. So when they get some more favourable data, one assumes it will get the go-ahead. Especially as he said vehicle access will be retained for now. Now remember in 2022 when a protester took a hammer and chisel to the statue of Ariel and Prospero at the BBC HQ entrance? All because of the sculptor's rather nasty and seedy past. That sculptor being Eric Gill. You can use your favourite search engine to find out all about him. Anyway, instead of considering taking down the statue, probably because Gill wasn't involved in slavery, which seems to be the only reason to consider changing anything. No, they chose instead to have Gill's sculpture repaired and refurbished. So in preparation for the works, up went some scaffolding, which a protester wearing a Spider-Man mask took advantage of yesterday and climbed up it and started to hack away at the sculpture. Now, the original attack was carried out by David Chick, who was known to wear Spider-Man outfits at other protests. So there is speculation that it's him having a second go. But that's not yet been confirmed. Well, I think the best way to force its removal is to find some link, however tenuous, between Eric Gill and slavery. That'll do the job. Richard.
So yesterday I went to my local butcher's, and I recommend all of you develop a good relationship with your local butcher, because you'll get better quality meat at a cheaper price if you buy in bulk. And that's all I have to say on the matter there. Anyway, I was in the butcher's and a chap came in, he stood next to me and he was picking up his weekly order of meat. And he said, "Oh, I just went to I won't say the name of the pub, the restaurant. He went to this particular restaurant and apparently it was empty," which he found very strange because he's a local, and he said that he's been eating there for like 30 or 40 years. Or drinking there at least for 30 or 40 years. Yet it was empty. To which the chap working behind the counter in the butcher's replied, "Well, we supply the meat to that particular establishment and many of the other establishments in the area. And our sales are right down to these places." And I thought, my goodness. And then something extraordinary happened. The chap standing next to me in the shop shouted. He said, "People are struggling. People are struggling. They are hurting." And I was wow. Okay, granted, many of us have been saying this for a while, but to hear such passion in somebody's voice on the street, you might say, in a shop, it really did take my breath away. And I thought, my goodness, this really is the world we're living in, because so many people I know are struggling. He then said that, "I'm glad that I no longer have a mortgage to pay, because I'm seeing my grandchildren not being able to afford to pay their mortgages, losing their jobs, relationships breaking up because of it." And I thought, yeah, this is getting worse, a lot worse. So how long are we going to put up with this? How long are we going to keep paying our taxes? How long are we going to keep complying? So, the bailiffs turn up. How long are we going to say, "Okay, yeah, well, whatever, you step in and take our stuff"? So they cut your electric off. How long are we going to say, "Okay, yeah, just carry on, we'll still comply"? So they take your house off you. Oh, okay. Are people going to continue to comply with this? What's going on? This society is supposed to, or I should say, rather, the state is supposed to be there as our safety net to ensure that we have a fair and decent society. Yet when people are losing their, well, the very roofs over their heads, we're living in very strange times, people. If the state wishes to be this big, then it needs to provide everything that it said it will provide, and yet it is not. So can you just let us get on and do our own thing? Stop interfering in our lives. Let us, let us go back to the land. Let us live on the land and do as we wish. Instead of herding us into little boxes, into little 15-minute neighbourhoods. This society is completely knackered, for want of a better term. Anyway, I know a lot of you are struggling, so leave your comments in the comment section below. And we will see you again tomorrow at 5:45, 5:45, 5:45. Oh, and don't forget, if you can, take a look down by the descriptions box and you'll see a selection of mugs and t-shirts and stuff for sale. It all helps.